WHGE 95.3 coming up, the Open Eye. Slow.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression in our people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm your host, Third Eye Optometrist, Patrice Gibbs, here to get your eye open, here to get them started. Sorry I was a little late, y'all, but we had some situations that I had to handle this morning. All right, but I'm here, y'all. I'm here to get it started, to get it going. All right, and as we always start off, let me get it, all right. Every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. And that's what we do here on the Open Eye. All right, let me get my disclaimer out the way. Little stuff here. Right, there it is. Where you at? Okay. Don't give me grief. Sookie. All right. Let's try that again. What the hell is going on here? Alright, seem to be having a little computer difficulties here. What the hell? But I can not do that. Hello, I'll do that. Come on, computer, what's going on? I need this today. All right, there, killer. What the? Yeah, all right. Okay. Wow. You can have some computer problems here. I don't know what's going on. Jeez Louise. Okay, what's going on with the computer today? There's having some problem with the computer here. What's going on? I don't know. It won't.
I heard you on the air.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, when you open up.
Yeah, but the computer won't play my music. What's going on here? Why is it doing this? Let's try that again.
The views and opinions expressed on the Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
All right. Let's get it going here. Okay. All right. Got the disclaimer out the way. I like my music is rolling. All right. And we can start here. As I always do. This is a quote from Rinoka Rashidi. All right? Yeah, I am a big opponent of misinformation. And on these internets, there's a lot of that going around. WHGE said, a lot of nonsense on Facebook, Africans. An article about the great Sphinx being 800,000 years old. Mozart being black. Hey, Sherry. Shakespeare's mother being black. Ancient Egyptians in the Grand Canyon. Come on. A photo claiming to be a young Harriet Tubman. Yeah, I've seen that. Africa named after a Roman general. We covered that. These claims are utter nonsense. I repeat, complete foolishness. Be prepared to do a little research and be a little more discerning with the knowledge. When it comes to African history, I guess you could say that I'm a purist, a fundamentalist. I don't like to see our history and culture distorted by anyone, black or white. Our history is so great, we don't have to fabricate anything. Jump on trendy bandwagons or run from facts and tradition. So when I hear a person say something like, I am not black, I am melanated. Okay, we all know we got melanin and, or something like that. I figure that is simply another trend that'll quickly pass. What's up, Warren? Same thing when I hear a person saying, I am not African, I'm indigenous. I want to recommend a mental health professional to these sisters and brothers. Yeah, that's word. All right. It's something that so many people are excited, so many black people are excited about the new pope. I'm hearing all kind of things like, oh, he's passing for white. Oh, he's got a Creole ancestry, and his father's family was black, and this, that, and the other, and dates back years, and oh my goodness, yeah, and Sister Stacy Patton gave a deep sigh. She went on to say, so there's chatter about a genealogist's discovery of the new Pope's black relatives. The sudden excitement over a drop of black ancestry in his bloodline is weird. As if one ancestral thread is going to cleanse centuries of colonization, genocide, child abuse, anti-blackness woven into the very fabric of the Catholic Church. This institution literally weaponized Christianity to justify slavery, declare entire continents heathen wastelands, and baptized the whip before it struck the back of Africans. Do people think that a sprinkle of melanin in the papal family tree is some kind of moral redemption arc? The Catholic Church has always been a warmongering, imperialist machine. It funded conquest. It erased indigenous cultures. It turned confession into control. And it's not like black Catholics haven't been sitting in pews for centuries watching themselves being erased from religious iconography, leadership and liturgy, all while being told to forgive white supremacy in the name of Jesus. But suddenly, because this Pope's great-great-grandroach or somebody might have been black, people think the Vatican might finally be about justice. This is racial symbolism theater at its worst. Ancestry isn't activism. Unless the black ancestry shows up as radical disruption, reparations, reformed doctrine, and full-throated repentance, this is meaningless. Yeah, what's going on there? Come on. All right. Symbolic blackness in a sea of institutional whiteness is just seasoning for white supremacy. Yeah. It's from Sister Stacy Patton. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, what is it? It's a book I don't have the name here. Okay, the families who were enslaved and sold to build the American Catholic Church. Without the enslaved, the Catholic Church in the United States, as we know it today, would not exist. All right. The priests prayed for the salvation of the souls of the people they owned, even as they bought and sold their bodies. You're excited about the wrong thing. How many times I told you about getting excited about a black man running the white man's store, even if he has a drop of melanin? Don't mean a damn thing. Let me see, are we still with it? Yeah, okay. All right, let's move right on. Let's see, yeah. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right, WHGE 95.3 FM. Thursday night, I attended the City Council committee meeting on rent stabilization. And it was very interesting. Got a little report here from the News Journal, and I got some comments for you. All right, Wilmington committee meeting becomes showdown of renters versus landlords. And it was that to a great extent. Landlords in collared shirts and renters in coordinated t-shirts with phrases like the rent is too high and housing is a human right, which they are, and the rent is too damn high. An ordinance stabilizing rent for many Wilmington properties was on the agenda for City Council's Community Development and Urban Planning Committee meeting. There were about 2 hours of public comment in what snowballed into a nearly 4-hour meeting. Yeah, it started at 5. And the ordinance introduced by North Wilmington Council member Shanae Darby would limit rent increases to 3% of the most recent base rent, or to the 12-month regional consumer price index, whichever is lower. It does not apply to landlords with 3 or fewer residential dwelling units, where one of them is the owner's residence. It also does not apply to public housing or new buildings finished after the ordinance goes into effect for its first 10 years. And that's all interesting. The committee advanced the ordinance for a tentative hearing and vote at the May 22nd council meeting. Hey, Brother Lawrence. The legislation has an uphill battle with Mayor John Carney's administration not sold on long-term benefits of the policy. Some studies of cities that have implemented similar policies have concluded that rent stabilization is a well-intentioned policy that does not keep rent from rising while decreasing housing supply over time. That's not true. Mhm. Darby and other council members think the rent is too high now, and something needs to be done. That's definitely true. According to census data, half of the city's population are renters. The average rent in the city on apartments.com is about $1,550 per month. The median household income is around $50,000, and half of the city is below that. However, apartments.com data has rents in the city at a stable and even slightly decreasing level, increasing affordability. Housing is a priority for state and city officials. All right. Now, this is now the issue. Darby made herself clear that help with rent costs was an urgent need for city residents. When asked to hold the legislation to clarify some enforcement, she declined. She asked the rest of the city council to help find ways to make the city's Department of License Inspection be able to help with this ordinance if it goes into effect. And she got direct support on the bill from Council President Ernest Trippy Congo. Okay. Also, Council Member Kobe Owens and Council Member Christian Willard. This is now the issue, Darby said said at the meeting. She said that this is not a silver bullet to make housing immediately affordable, but it's a way to give residents a break as costs continue to rise. It's a crucial step toward equity and survival, Councilwoman Darby said. It gives our residents room to breathe while we build long-term affordability. The Women in Tenants Autonomous Union brought an army with them, equipped with T-shirts, signed postcards, and posters with council members' names decorated on them. One of its leaders, Brandon Fletcher Dominguez, said the legislation is meant to keep Wilmington's rent-burdened residents under a roof. He said the people most affected by raising rents are seniors, working-class families, Black and Hispanic families in the city. He accused some landlords of exploiting a broken system. He was absolutely right. And he said this legislation offers protection for families struggling to make ends meet. Now, some landlords said that this will stifle development. I can't go with that. I can't go with that. One of the mayor's office primary concerns with the ordinance is that it could limit development in a city that has gone great lengths to promote it. Yeah, but that development has only been affordable to those that are on the upper echelons of the financial financial income, whose income is on the upper echelons and what have you. However, Daniel Walker, Carney's deputy chief of staff, said the office and Darby have been working together to find solutions. And see, that's one of the things that I like about Darby. Even if you disagree with her, she's going to try to work with you to find a solution. However, she's not going to back down on what she's trying to do to help people. Now, this post came up from Jeff Sheraton, and this was his criticism of the meeting. Last night, after multiple hours of public comment, City Council mistakenly advanced rent stabilization legislation. Landlord. The legislation was advanced despite the very administration they tasked with its implementation being opposed. Some of the comments and behavior last night by some members of the public and city council members was nothing short of embarrassing. Yes, an embarrassment when too many people disagree with you. Our elected officials need to lead, not follow the orders of a vocal mob. No, our elected officials, yes, they need to lead, but they need to listen to the people out here. And people expressing their concerns about what's going on are not a mob. Being a leader means telling uncomfortable truths and taking accountability. Yes, it means taking accountability for what's going on and explaining to the people how we're going to fix that. Sup, Steve? Yeah. Even when it means losing some votes, we need to do a lot better than this. On that post, Ms. Darby responded, so let me get this straight. After hours of passionate, informed, and that's the thing, all right? No mob is informed. And these people were informed. They came with statistics. They came with receipts. After hours of passionate, informed, and civic public comment, mostly from black and brown residents directly impacted by rent hikes, we're being called a mob. This is not leadership. This is racism, elitism, and fear of accountability wrapped in a landlord's fragile ego. Well said. Rent stabilization is not a mistake. It's a step toward justice. And let's be clear, just because the administration opposes it doesn't mean the people do. The community showed up. Council members listened. Jeff Sheridan, who profits off of renters in predominantly black neighborhoods, doesn't get to belittle the people who make those neighborhoods vibrant. You may call it embarrassing. We call it democracy. We call it people power. And we're just getting started. It's from Sinead Darby. WHGE 95.3 FM. The Open Eye. All right. Patrice Gibbs here, your third eye optometrist. And yes, indeed, I definitely agree with rent stabilization, especially concerning the work I do. I work for Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. We help veterans get stable housing. And not just a house. Because the thing is this. Put somebody in a home, you can put them in there and say, hey, here you go. You got a home. Your security deposit is this, that, and the other. And it's just a house. So we make sure they have a home. Okay? Not just a house. And the goal is for them to be self-sufficient. And this is the goal with most entities that help those that have dealt with homelessness or in danger of facing homelessness, is to stabilize them and see to it that they have self-sufficiency. Now, what I've noticed during this, and it's not most of the landlords, but you have so many landlords that look at this situation and say they got a guaranteed income here, so I'm going up on the rent. And you look at what some of these landlords are doing. One of the things I heard that was interesting, I'm in this segment with this right here. You got some of these landlords saying, well, if, this passes, the likelihood is that me as a developer, as an investor, I'm going to invest somewhere else. I'm not going to continue to invest where I can't make money. And we understand that you're in business and what have you. But being in business doesn't mean gouging people or gentrification by raising the rent so high that people can no longer afford it, and you bring in those on the economic level, which are usually white people. And not always the case, but they're not working people. I saw a couple that had were living in basically a slum, being dogged out by a slumlord. And these people were talking about, well, we're going to go invest somewhere else. Bye. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. right. You know, one of the things that we're still dealing with, and in this age of trying to bring back Jim Crow, some people are comfortable. Oh, you know, I can do this now because Trump is president, so I can get away with this. Check the story out. Now, a black fourth grader at the Madeline School in Portland is called the N-word. You know what's up with that? A little technical difficulty here. Excuse me, y'all. Let's start over. A black fourth grader at the Madeline School in Portland is called the N-word. Black parents rushed to the school, demanding to know the plan to ensure this never happens again. Principal Tressa Rass calls the police. Rass tells another family she suspects the boy made it all up and needs therapy to be deprogrammed from a past anti-racist training. Racist talking point. Anti-racist training programs program people to make up racism. That was the school principal's point. The parents continue to demand action. The school expels their son. And that's the damnedest thing I ever heard. Anti-racist, they need to be deprogrammed from anti-racist programming or anti-racist training. Anti-racist training programs, people make up racism. No, we don't. You ain't got to make up a damn thing about racism in America. The thing is, this principal doesn't want to do anything about it, and she doesn't want to hear about it because it makes her uncomfortable. Makes her, she's a racist asshole. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And rather than do something about the racism, she expelled the student. We don't want to hear about it. It makes me think, someone told me their first reaction to Dr. King was he was a troublemaker. Why was he stirring all this racism up? People getting lynched, can't travel freely. We still can't. Okay? But bringing up racism just makes it worse. All this anti-racism training, all it does is get black people to see racism where there is none. And that's a crock. That's a crock. Because all you got to do in America is scratch the surface a little bit. Especially, look, I seen this woman call a black woman the N-word and said, I could do that now because Trump's in office. You know what? How many times we tell you? How many times have we told you? Trump has security. You don't. And that woman got lucky that she said it to the right black person or maybe the wrong black person and that she didn't suffer any consequences. Now, this is, where is this from? This is from, I think it's from either the Root or the Gria, on those white-owned black websites. Just by Lawrence Ware. In some instances, I agree, but let's go on. And just the title right here, to give you those of you that know me, know where I stand. 5 reasons we should be scared about Trump's attempt to segregate schools again. President Donald Trump's Justice Department lifted a school desegregation order in Louisiana last week. The administration said that the fact that the order was still on the books was a historical wrong. They also said that they were looking to end other desegregation orders that put an unnecessary burden on schools. This is not good. Ending diversity, equity, and inclusion is bad. Terminating desegregation orders is terrible. Maybe it's the stock market going haywire. Perhaps it's the NBA playoffs. But this has not caught the attention of many black people. Dad, don't be fooled. I disagree with that. And let me lay out why this matters. This needs to be said explicitly. Saying that he is ending desegregation orders does not carry the punch it deserves. What the president wants to do is allow for resegregation, indeed. Black folks fought hard to end school desegregation. And what Trump's Justice Department is implying is that racism is over and white people can be trusted now. Nah. Which leads us to our next point. Racism does not go away just because time has passed. The decades-old desegregation order may seem outdated. It's not. But racism does not go away just because time has passed. A person who was an unapologetic racist 60 years ago can also raise kids and grandkids to be just as racist as they are. But let's go further. Many assume that people who hate black folks are country bumpkins with no political power. History shows us that the most damage is done by elected officials who have these beliefs. That person who was racist 60 years ago could easily be an elected official in 2025. That's why these protections are needed. This will harm black students. Many black students are already forced to attend underperforming schools. That's true. To quote Mary McLeod Bethune, black students are underserved and undermined in schools. Do you know what? Now, he made that quote, and I don't think he really understood it. Black students are underserved and undermined in schools. The only thing that helped all black students achieve on the same level as their white counterparts was desegregation. I disagree with that. Okay? Disagree with that. Because the main line in Mary McLeod Bethune's quote, underserved and undermined. You can say to a predominantly white school with a hostile faculty, your education is being undermined. Why do you think Dr. King was against school desegregation or school integration? That we could not trust those that hate us to educate our children. It's not a question of ability, we have that. But one of the resources, it was money that proponents of desegregation were trying to funnel into black communities. The Department of Justice is looking to undo that. They never funneled any money into our schools. As a result, this will harm black children. Our children have been being harmed in our school system for decades. Forget about it. This will give white people free reign. Trump is asking us to just believe that all white people will do what is in the best interest of black people. We know better than that. That they will not engage in shenanigans when it comes to black students. They've been doing that. What evidence do we have to trust that they won't? We don't. White people love black culture, but do they hate black people? Ultimately, this is a question about white people. Like, do they even like us? Or more pointedly, do they want to be around black people? I won't give a damn, actually. Sure, white people cheer for black athletes on the football field. They may even listen to Beyonce or Kendrick Lamar. But when we look at the history of school segregation, white people clearly like what black culture gives them, but are indifferent to the presence of black people. Some don't want their kids to have too many black friends. They certainly don't want too many black kids in the same school their kids attend. And that's true. And let me tell you something. The desegregation of schools has always been a cruel joke on African American students. After the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education ruling, few schools actually desegregated. Some school districts took as long as 20 years to make some semblance of racial adjustment. For instance, Boston in the 1970s and Delaware in the 1970s, right here. These desegregation efforts were met with as much white resentment, hostility, and violence as the efforts in the 1950s. African American leaders were confused about the tactics to educate our children. They confused quality with whiteness. They were fooled by the illusion of inclusion. Because of the white school were much better funded, African Americans would be able to take advantage of the resources that the white students enjoyed. So African American students were sent to white suburban schools where they were met by hostile white teachers and school administrations who made immense efforts to see that these students failed. Okay? I experienced that myself. I had an English lit teacher when I was at Mount Pleasant, whose primary goal was to see to it that the two black students in her class were exposed or were taught about, were given a curriculum of things that we weren't exposed to, so that we would fail. Many of these efforts were very successful. Here in Delaware, the dropout has been obscene. One district in the city for 2 years suffered a 100% dropout rate. That means not one student from that district graduated from high school. I call it a push-out rate. And now, because of charter schools, private schools, special education, alternative schools, racist school boards, and state legislation, many schools are even more segregated than ever. Desegregation has proven to be an abject failure. African Americans made a major mistake attempting to desegregate schools. The effort should have been focused on desegregating the resources. Because with substandard resources, our black schools, with our black teachers who gave a damn about us, with substandard resources, were turning out quality college-ready students. I have no problem with separating from them. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. We must reckon with the fact that a significant number of Americans won't pay for hungry kids to get lunch or sick kids to get health care. But they will pay $500,000 to a white woman for calling a 5-year-old black kid the N-word. We also must reckon with the fact that the vast majority of these people identify as Christian. To every white person who donated to that woman, the woman that called that black kid the N-word and doubled down on it, Shiloh Hendricks, shame on you. To Bishop Talbert's salon. You didn't just give money, you gave approval. You co-signed the dehumanization of a 5-year-old black child. You didn't just reward racism, you invested in it. You told the world that calling a black child an N-word is not only acceptable, but profitable. You are foul. You have no moral ground to stand on. Don't talk to us about unity. Don't you dare quote Dr. King. Don't pretend to care about children, justice, or decency. Yeah. This chick raised over $500,000 for repeatedly calling a 5-year-old autistic child the N-word. Mm-hmm. And one of these online fundraiser apparatuses. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? What you didn't count on? You didn't count on a black queen. Because Keandria Damone did her research. And she looked into this. Thank you, Keandria. Racism doesn't just survive on ignorance, it survives on funding. We're not just talking here, we're cutting off the pipeline. And this is what Keandria Damone did. Okay? She held the racist profiteers accountable. She cracked the HTML web code to expose the payment processor funding the racist fundraising campaign. And what she did was she led the charge, okay, to protests, crowd protests, the funding for this racism. And what has happened is the $650,000 that has been pledged to Shiloh Hendricks, who doubled down on her racism, is put on hold. And the likelihood is that she's not going to get the money. That's her. That is what's very likely. And we thank that sister for doing her homework and blocking that crap. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Okay. I'm going to tell you about James Dillon versus the NYPD. And I'll explain to you why. Dillon, 25 at the time, stabbed the liquor store owner to death. He set a homeless man on fire as well as slashing a woman across her face and stabbing her in the head. Damn. According to the New York Daily News, hundreds of cops covered the streets of Astoria with guns drawn, helicopters hovering. Dillon faced off with two cops, throwing an unknown substance at them and burning their hands. It's been acid or something. The two officers opened fire, hitting Dillon twice in his legs, sparing his life, arresting him and taking him to a nearby hospital. The officers didn't fear for their lives enough to kill him. And let me remind you what he did. He stabbed the liquor store owner. He set a homeless man on fire. He slashed a woman across the face and then stabbed her in the head. And then faced off with cops. But they didn't fear enough. They weren't afraid enough to kill him. And I did mention that James Dillon was white. Fast forward to Rodney Hinton Jr. Rodney Hinton Jr.'s son was killed fleeing from the cops from an allegedly stolen car. Come to find out, yeah, it was. I see you, sister. But Sister Sherry said about the Shiloh Hinton, the racist chick, raised $800,000, but it's been blocked. There's the likelihood she's not gonna get the money. Anyway, back to Mr. Hinton. Right? Okay. Mr. Hinton, like I said, his son was shot in the back, fleeing from cops. The cop shouted, "Oh, he has a gun. He has a gun." He didn't. And from what I've heard, the car was not stolen. All right, the car was payment was due. He missed the car payment, and they reported the car stolen. Now he was taken in court, and I'm sure a lot of you by now have seen the video. Rodney Hinton Jr., the father, because he watched the video of his son being killed. Let me get my terminology right. He watched the video of his son being murdered, shot in the back, fleeing from a cop. And right after that, he went out in his car and he ran down a cop, a police deputy. Talk about that more in a minute. A black father stands in a courtroom shackled, dressed in jailhouse orange, surrounded by a wall police officer. The cop stands shoulder to shoulder, stone-faced, jaws tight, arms locked, arms crossed, forming a human barricade of coordinated rage. That father is Rodney Hinton Jr. This black man's son was murdered by a cop, and then he killed a cop the next day. Not the one who pulled the trigger, but a cop. For him, any cop would do, because this system acts collectively, protects itself collectively, and kills with collective impunity. An eye for an eye. And now look at him. He's not flinching. He didn't flinch at all. He held his head up with the defiance of a man who already lost everything that ever mattered. A man who wasn't afraid of punishment because he's already lived through the ultimate injustice. And in this blue back theater of intimidation, and despite the orange and the handcuffs, he looks free. And now people are shocked that so many black people are supporting him. Just like they rallied behind Carmelo Anthony, who defended himself against a white bully and lived to tell the truth. I've long wondered why incidents like this haven't happened more often, given the scale of police violence that black communities have endured for generations. We buried so many of our children. Ayanna Stanley Jones, 7. Deonta Farrell, 12. Tamir Rice, 12. Tyree King, 13. Andy Lopez, 13. Children, that list goes on. America has demanded that black parents bury their children and do it quietly. They tell us to forgive, to protest peacefully, though strong, to hope, to wait for investigations that go nowhere. We watch killer cops walk free with pensions and promotions. There's a warning shot from the edge of black America's patience. Yes, a lot of us say, wow, man, it's a shame that cop got killed, and why did he just pick any cop and kill him? One, he fit the description. Let me explain something to you. The gang in blue is a gang. Brother Jafar. The gang in blue is a gang. And when someone from a rival gang or from a buckwild gang kills one of your family members, it doesn't matter which one of those gang members you catch. You fit the description. The cops are an organized, state-funded gang whose primary target, primary victim of murder are black people. How many times have you heard cops holler out, he got a gun? No gun was found. And then they murdered that black child. So when someone from the Crips or the Bloods or MS-13 or the KKK or the Slave Patrol Police Department murders one of ours, and then one of ours takes a stance of an eye for an eye because of the pain that they're in losing their child, he fit the description. WHGE 95.3 FM, Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM. How many times have I told you this? Don't give his pigmentation no consideration if he's in that uniform. Because the cause of Tyree Nichols' death were the black cops that beat him to death. Then after 8 hours, the jury made a decision on the second-degree murder charge the cops were facing. I don't know what video this jury saw. What evidence they heard. That's why they moved the jury to another jurisdiction outside of Memphis so they can get an all-white jury that acquitted these murderers. The 3 of the 5 former police officers charged in the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols face trial this week on second-degree murder charges after watching the horrifying footage we all did of Nichols being beaten, bloody, mocked. The mostly white jury finally came back with a verdict, not guilty. Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith were acquitted of second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official oppression, and official misconduct following a 9-day trial and over 8 hours of jury deliberation. The 3 hugged their attorneys following the verdict reading. One relative yelled from the crowd, "Thank you, Jesus." Are you kidding me? I tell you what, if these were my relatives, I don't think they could come to the barbecue no more. I just don't see it. These cops were acquitted. Our justice system is a joke. I'm confused. Maybe somebody can help me understand. Tyree Nichols was beaten so viciously, he was calling out for his mother. The officers mocked him using his bloody body as a prop in pictures they sent to other people, and they're still acquitted. Still acquitted. Don't give their pigmentation no consideration. And you know, it makes you think. That's something I had on my mind over the past couple of days when this happened, when Langley, General Langley, accused Ibrahim Traoré being a corrupt dictator. When I saw a black person speak against rent stabilization, a black person in authority, and I see all this going on, and I'm like, damn, are there no spooks sitting by the door? WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right. Yes, exactly, Sister Sherry. Bootlickers. Bootlickers. Where's the spook sitting by the door? Breaking news. The French scientist who flew to a science conference in the U.S. was denied entry and deported back to France by Trump's Border Patrol just because they searched his phone and found messages that criticized Trump's spending cuts to scientific research. That's reported by the French newspaper Le Monde. But Border Patrol said the messages conveyed hatred of Trump and could be qualified as terrorism. So now Trump is deporting people just because they criticize him. America, we are heading into Orwellian 1984 territory. We're already there. And we wonder why folks don't want to come here. Your tourism is pretty much collapsed. Soon business and conference travel will too. Moving right along, Trump administration has taken the unprecedented move of dismissing all of the voting right cases that the Department of Justice was actively pursuing against cities, states, or municipalities that may have violated sections of the Voting Rights Act and violated people's rights in the process. They then took things a step further by firing all the investigators in the Voting Rights Act's division of the Department of Justice. This gives states a green light to suppress and violate voting rights across the country. And believe me, you got plenty of these states that's going to do it. That's right. Plenty of them. Dear really stupid Trump supporter, Donald Trump didn't lower your taxes. He didn't get your roads fixed or your bridges built. He didn't get you health care coverage, lower the price of your prescriptions, decrease the deficit. He did not end the opiate crisis, revive the coal industry. He didn't make COVID disappear. He didn't make Mexico pay for that wall. He didn't put America first. He sure as hell didn't drain the swamp. So when you say he fought for you, you mean he validated your hate. Because he didn't do a goddamn thing for you other than that. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Howdy. Yeehaw. I'm back. Is Jim Crow policy making a comeback in America? It would seem so. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed segregation in stores, restaurants, theaters, and public places in general. However, because of vehement white resistance, it took years after the act was signed for many of these places to actually desegregate. Some never really did. Many white-owned businesses that did desegregate were and still are openly hostile to black customers. I don't go there. This is 61 years after the civil rights was signed. There's a concerted effort by resentful racist whites to maintain Jim Crow policies. Starbucks calls the cops 2 minutes after two black men entered a coffee shop. Many Waffle Houses will call the cops on any black person for anything, if they even serve you. The cops will show up, brutalize you, and arrest you. Mm-hmm. Sammy Subs hires a white manager whose first act is to fire all black employees. When any black customer attempts to enter this place, this new manager meets them at their door and informs them that they are not welcome in Sammy Subs. And of course, threatens to call the cops. Remember the group of black women golfers whose presence on the golf course prompted whites playing behind them to call the cops because they were playing too slow? Remember that? Actually, it was the mere presence of these black women that irritated and motivated the whites to call the cops. And that's it in a nutshell. The mere presence of black people is enough to make some white people react with anything from blatant hostility to outright violence. The reaction by irritated whites can lead them to call the cops, which of course can get a black person killed. Will motivate hostile whites to commit violence. Case in point, a young high school freshman asked whites where his school was located, and his answer was gunfire. That's what he was answered with. So obviously the current practice for white people who feel uncomfortable with black people is to react violently or call the cops, who will show up and arrest or kill black people who had the audacity to make white people uncomfortable. Jim Crow could get you killed then, and Jim Crow can get you killed now. Don't get it mixed. We're all with separating from y'all. You don't think we're going to bring back Jim Crow quietly. We'll string his ass up. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Coming to a close, y'all. Got here late, but boy, the hour went by, didn't it? I hope you learned something today, because I learned something before I got here. All right? And as we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. This is the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm Patrice Gibbs. All right. Yeah, I know I came in a little late and I held up. That hour flew on by. And don't think I forgot. Ibrahim Touré is leading the way. He's industrializing and others are following. Global African supremacy is coming. I'm Patrice Gibbs.